Hello YouTube, I'm Chris from codereviewvideos.com. Before watching this video, I'd like to let you know that I have over 500 similar videos available on my site, codereviewvideos.com. If you love Symfony, then you'll feel right at home here. I'll show you how to build both websites and JSON APIs, and then we're going to talk to those JSON APIs using React and Redux. There's courses on Docker and Ansible, as well as loads on deployment and test-driven development and behavior-driven development. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and as ever, thanks for watching. Hi, I'm Chris from codereviewvideos.com, and in this video we're continuing on with our migration from Symfony 3.4 up to Symfony 4. So at this point our code is deprecation free, and we want to bump up from Symfony 3.4 upwards to 4. Now on the major upgrade guide available on the symfony.com website, there's some instructions on how we can do this. And it says, make your code deprecation free. Well, we've got a big tick in that box, and then update to a new major version via Composer. So if we do this, I'm not going to do it for the sake of your time and mine, but if we do this, it won't work. Likewise, if we do this command, it just won't work. Now on this guide, there's a section that says update to the Symfony 4 Flex directory structure. And if we follow that, then basically it's this document here. And so what I'm going to suggest is that you just start from this point. Now we can go through all that at our leisure, but the point that we're interested in is upgrading an existing application to Flex. So basically it tells us about the new directory structure, and then it gives us this 8-step guide on how to get ourselves from 3.4 upwards to Symfony Flex. So if I try and copy this out, I think it's going to fail anyway, because it's going to go over multiple lines. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my temp directory. Now, I'm using the temp directory simply for the purposes of demonstration. Depending on how long you're expecting your migration to take, you should perhaps use a proper directory. If you put stuff in the temp directory, there's a big possibility that it's going to get removed, specifically such as when you log out or restart your computer or whatever. You don't really want to lose your migration halfway through. I'm hoping this migration doesn't take me long enough that I need to log out, but that's a different story. It's going to do Composer create project against the Symfony skeleton, and I'm going to call it githut-flex and let it do its thing. So it's gone ahead and created my new project, so I'm just going to change directory into that. And immediately what I'm going to do is an rm-rf against the git directory, because when I come to merge this stuff with my existing project, I don't want the Symfony Flex new git directory to overwrite my existing git directory. That would just be really bad. 10 points if you can figure out what I did whilst I was doing the preparation for these videos. Anyway, we have our project, so we can go back to the documentation, and the next step is to merge our require and require dev dependencies. So if we look inside our Composer JSON, inside our GitHub project, really the only ones that we're concerned about are these two. I honestly can't remember why we have that as a third dependency, but I'm not going to worry about it moving forwards. And I'd also prefer if the Symfony web server bundle was in the require dev section. That feels like a mistake. I'm not too sure when I made that in the past, but I'm going to correct it because we don't want this available in production. So because this is an official bundle, we really shouldn't have any trouble installing this. So I'm going to do a Composer require against the Symfony web server bundle, and I'm just going to put that into our dev requirements. So if we then do a cat on a Composer JSON, we should see this under require dev, which we do, which is good. And so then I can take this one, the 8 points guzzle bundle, and let's clear that off and do another Composer require. And this time I'm not using the dev because this is an actual live dependency of my project. Now what's happening in the background here is all this new Flex stuff. So we don't need to go in and enable that bundle into app kernel or whatever. These recipes, these new Flex recipes are doing all that for us. Because the Symfony web server bundle was an official bundle, it's trusted by default, but because the 8 points guzzle bundle comes from the community or the contrib, then we need to say whether we do or don't actually trust this. I'm going to say yes. For this specific bundle, we actually trust this bundle. And again, in the background, this bundle has been enabled for us and the default configuration has been added in. We're going to need to edit that default configuration. That should be all our requirements done though. So the next thing is install the dependencies in the new project using a Composer update. So there's probably not a lot that's going to actually happen here, but we're going to do it anyway. Yep, thought as much. And then it's now advising that we review the generated config packages and make any configuration changes that we had in our original project. Well, let's have a look at this config packages directory. So do ls la against config packages. There's a couple of subdirectories under there, so let's just have a very quick look in them as well, dev and test. Things look fairly similar to how they looked under Symfony 3. Difference is now that we have a specific configuration file for our bundle, whereas before things would generally sort of accumulate into central files. And if we cat that config packages 8 points guzzle, what we see here is some default config, and this config is actually live on the site. And what the information from the documentation was telling us is, hey, perhaps we don't want that default configuration. If we look under our config YAML, we already have some configuration. So why don't we make a change? So I'm going to use Vim, and I am by no means a Vim ninja. So I'm just going to delete all of that. I'm just holding down D there, press I to insert, and just paste the contents of my clipboard in, escape, WQ to write and quit. We should be good there. Now the really nice thing is, because our project is basically tiny, our change is really small, but it's enough, like we've done everything that we need to do in terms of satisfying that point. But of course, in the real world, these tasks take significantly longer, or at least it has done for me on other projects, personal ones. So our next step is move the original parameters YAML defined in app config parameters to the new one in services.yaml and the M files depending on your needs. So our GitHub project actually has no custom parameters. We weren't using the database in any way. So it seems like we have nothing to do here, but actually we do. The instructions are a little bit misleading. What this step should also incorporate is migrating anything in our app config services YAML file. So we've got a services YAML file, and we do have these two custom changes. So the reason for adding all this stuff in here was because this is the new way of doing stuff. So we should expect that all this stuff is already in our Symfony 4 build. But we do need to move this stuff over. So what I'm going to do is a Vim on config services YAML. I'm just going to scroll to the very bottom here. Again, not a Vim ninja. There's probably a way to do that. I'm going to press O to insert a new line. I'm just going to paste the contents of my clipboard, which is just those 2 lines. Now, there's actually a problem here. And again, much like what I said in the previous video, a good IDE will actually highlight this problem to you. But if you're using something like a text editor like Vim or Sublime without the right plugins, I guess, this isn't going to flag up. But the problem here is that we're using app bundle, and the new Symfony 4 way of doing stuff just gets rid of the bundle concept. But I'm going to leave it in anyway because I want to highlight that. The good news is we've done the first 5 steps, and we're going to cover the remaining 3 in the very next video.